Hey, this is Kirk.
And this is Byrd. It's our first NCAA preview, but we're also extremely proud that the Virginia Tech Hokies are representing this fine state. And we have some special guests from that Virginia Tech community, but we're also just going to talk a little bit about the tournament overall.
That's right. So we've got Virginia Tech Hall of Famer, voice of the Hokies, Mike Burnop joining us from Roanoke. He's going to be making his way to Milwaukee, where I want you to make a deal and have an old Milwaukee in front of the Arthur Fonzarelli statue, Mike. And then we've got Matt Galloway right down the road, high school, Potomac Falls, great player, played for Buzz at Virginia Tech. Matt's father played with Mike. So Mike, we're going to start off with you because, man, what a week you had in Brooklyn. The Hokies, after that close one with Clemson, just exploded. And we know that you're waiting on word to go to Milwaukee. So why don't you help us out and just let's just talk about that last second shot that Maddox hit, and then from there on, the Virginia Tech was on a roll. You had the best seat in the house.
Yeah, they were, and when you think about where they were, like a week and a half ago, they went down to Clemson and lost that game. Hey, that team, Coach Young, he was like lower than a snake's belly, man. They were hurting, and so he, they regrouped. It was a long plane ride back, and they regrouped and had to play Clemson the second time around. That thing's going back and forth. You thought you had it under control there. You had a nice lead at the half, but, Clemson came back. You knew they were going to make a run. They did. And the Hokies get to overtime, and it's like Darius Maddox is there. We're down 2. Mm-hmm. Just he buzzes right down the court, man. They had 5 guards on the floor, did Coach Young. And he just dribbled that one time behind his back, got a little separation, launched the shot right in front of us, and you could tell it was going in. And then the backboard turns red, and that was the history. So, yeah, and then after that, they got on a big-time roll. I mean, you beat number 1, number 2, number 3 seeds. That's pretty impressive. And I think if you're anybody out there in the tournament right now, you don't want to play Virginia Tech because they've been trending in the right direction for sure.
Probably the hottest team in the country after going 10-10. Matt, were you watching it live?
Oh, for sure. You already know I was.
Yeah. What'd you think? Because, man, I would love to have that seat, Mike, but that move that Maddox made to shake the guy, because the guy was playing pretty good defense. I mean, that was just such a great shot. How was the Hokie turnout, Mike? I just seemed like there were a lot of people going up there from Hokie land.
There were quite a few there. They were spread out all over the place. And, you thought after the Carolina game that all those other fans there were going to be rooting for the Hokies, right? Because everybody kind of was thinking, we're going to have this Duke Carolina rematch, part 3. Mm-hmm. And so that didn't quite work out. But our fans were great. They were engaged. And it was really a fun time, fun trip. And it's amazing. You think about Coach Young now, he was 5-0 to Southern Conference in conference championship games, and now he goes to the ACC, gets to the conference championship game, wins it. The dude is 6-0.
Right.
Wow. Stuff. And it's just so cool because this team, you never know what night it is, who's going to step up and make the plays. Right. Luke's been really good, getting doubles or close to that. You know what you're getting out of Mutts. But then Hunter Couture goes off against Duke, right? 7 out of 9 threes, ends up with 21 points. The crazy thing is, he told me before the game, he said, I couldn't make anything. He said, I was afraid I was going to go to this game tonight and not make a shot. And it's 31. So it's crazy how it is, but they got so many different guys that can score. And then the bench production has been outstanding. When you think about Maddox, how he's come off the bench, and Sean Padula, he's had his moments. So, yeah, they're definitely playing really, really well.
Yeah. So to tie it together, Matt, you just told me today, I didn't know this, but your father played with Mike back in the 70s. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, all I know is all the stories from what they tell me when every time we meet up. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Mike was a pretty good pretty good receiver himself, pretty good tight end. My dad was, pretty good as well. He was a leading receiver, I believe, in '76. So yeah, they definitely like to air it out down there, and they had a pretty good receiving core to help them out. So, but yeah, he's
Right.
like you said, a legend in himself. So
Now, was Bruce Arians there for your father, Matt? You might be able to go
my
ahead.
dad's first touchdown catch was actually from Bruce.
Wow,
Yeah, I think
that's cool.
at South Carolina. So
All right, so Rusty, real quick, I think we're gonna have a lot of viewers. Why don't you tell everybody where to find us on social media? A lot of Hokies content on our channel. Go ahead, Rusty, and tell them about your connection with Virginia Tech. Tell them about your connection also.
Okay, my connection is my brother Melendez Byrd played at Virginia Tech in the late 80s, early 90s, played middle linebacker. And he met his wife there, Linnell Slade, who was a volleyball player, and they are just the biggest Virginia Tech fans. And Virginia Tech is my favorite football program of all time. So I'm a big Virginia Tech fan, but I went to VCU and UVA. So basketball-wise, I'm not normally rooting for you, but we're kind of not in the big show. So I'm a Hokie fan. So I just got to get on that run and get to the Final Four. So I'm a big Hokie fan for this tournament in basketball. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, the Kirk and Byrd Show. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we can be found. We're also on Twitter, and we now have an Instagram page. So we love people to follow us. Tell us all the things that Kirk says wrong and that I say right.
Get a lot wrong.
Make plenty of comments and be nice to Mike. All right, we want him back.
Yeah.
But
we don't have the error check because Matt, I was talking about Riverside playing Highland Springs the other night, and I said they lost twice to Tuscarora, and I meant to say Potomac Falls. But so everybody wants to hear about the Hokies, arguably, probably the hottest team in the country. After starting 10-10, they're 23-11 or 12, right, Mike?
Yeah, 23-12, I believe it is.
Okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this. First of all, what do you think about the region they're in? And then what do you think about the seed that they got? So maybe you start with every one you want, because I got some strong opinions, but I know that you're close to the action.
Well, I was a little surprised they were an 11 and Duke was a 2 after he's kind of dismantled them. But, I think a lot of the writers had not much good to say about the ACC this year. They felt like it was a down year, and the Hokies ended up winning it. So, but I think at this time of year, it doesn't really matter because whoever you play is going to be pretty daggone good.
Mm-hmm.
And the matchup with Texas because, they've lost 3 games in a row, 2 of them, albeit to good teams, Baylor and Kansas.
Yep.
Lost in their tournament to TCU. They don't have a lot of big guys, a couple 6'9" guys. So that bodes well for you. And their bench may be a little deeper than the Hokies because they got about 10 guys that play about 11 minutes and up. So, but I think it's a good matchup. If you can get through that one, in all likelihood, you're going to play Purdue,
right?
One of the teams in the country. So, yeah, it gets harder every time you go, and that's just the way it is.
Right. Matt, what are your thoughts on that? I think Texas was seated too high and Virginia Tech was seated too low. But the blessing of this is that we're favored. What are your thoughts on what we have and Purdue? And I'll get to, we're in the aristocracy region. We've got, I'll say this, North Carolina, Indiana, UCLA, Kentucky. That's basketball royalty. And then you throw in Marquette, Baylor. That's 6 teams with national championships. San Francisco, I'm not sure if they won one with Bill Russell, but
won 2.
Did they? Okay, that's 7. So Matt, what do you think about our draw going in for a very hot team that's playing well?
I think we got a pretty favorable draw. Although you said, a lot of the teams, have historic backgrounds. I think just like Mr. Burnop alluded to, it doesn't really matter who you get at this time of the year. And I think that, as you said earlier, we are one of the hottest teams in the country right now. I think we won 13 of 15. And I mean, just from experience, just winning like one or two games in the ACC tournament is hard enough, but winning 4 in a row on 4 straight days is, that's a whole different level. So, especially when your back's kind of up against the wall like our team was, I definitely, I think we can all agree that they were seeded a little too low. I thought just making the championship, they probably would have been in there, but I don't know if the writers felt the same way. But I definitely think that, with everyone playing so well, we definitely are a tough matchup. And just the versatility of all the guys, I think we could be a tough matchup for a couple other teams. I also think that Mike Young is for sure one of the best coaches in the country. He has a lot of great actions. He's just been around the game a ton. So I don't think there's anything you can throw at him that he won't expect. And I think we're going to be, I think we go pretty far. I think we can make a run and surprise some people. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, I'm really, I told Kirk before the championship game, I thought just getting to the championship would have gotten him in the tournament, but looks like it wasn't. And I was very surprised that the ACC only got 5 teams in, and the Big Ten hasn't had much success. Last year I think they got 9 teams and then nobody made it to the Final Four, and they haven't had a national champion in a really long time. And so I've said throughout the year that the ACC was down, but when I see what they put in, you look at Texas, they're 21 and 11. They just have one less loss,
right,
than Virginia Tech. And to be honest, to me, I think it's a little disrespectful to make an ACC team, an ACC champion, as an 11th seed. So the way I actually look at it is really, if they had made Virginia Tech the 6th and Texas the 11th, I think nobody would have made it better than I. So I think Virginia Tech has every chance to win this game. I don't think they're an underdog in any way. I see them moving on. I'm really surprised that first of all, I know years when the ACC has teams 500 and they'll still go like 8 and 9 deep, and some other conferences did that, and so I don't know what it was, but I think that schedule, that ACC schedule, has prepared them despite not being a regular year, and I like the Hokies to advance. I think to the Sweet 16.
The thing about it is when you look at that team, they scheduled some tough games up front. They went to Barclays Center in Thanksgiving. Played Memphis, didn't play well. They were ranked like in the top 10 at the time. Then Xavier the next night, they were ranked 25th. They got beaten, lost both of those games. Went to Dayton and lost that game. So they had some tough losses there early on in the season. And as farther it went, when you got close to the time, like they were talking bubble teams and tournament teams, and then I started looking at it and they had like Wake Forest on the bubble and they were 23-8. I said, how the heck is Virginia Tech going to get in if Wake is on the bubble on the outside looking in? And so I think everybody kind of agreed if the Hokies didn't win it all, they weren't getting in, because they talked about some of those talking heads about, we took Dayton's spot maybe, or somebody else's spot.
Yeah,
they left no doubt when they had a chip on their shoulder and played with more of a sense of urgency that, hey, we're going to win this thing. We're not here to win 1 or 2. We're here to win 4. Let's get it done. And then there's no doubt that we're on in the big.
And they did it.
Yeah. So Mike, let's do a little quick analysis of Texas. So, you've got Chris Beard coming from Texas Tech, which is who they lost to. They've got signature wins. They beat Tennessee. They beat the number 1 seed in Kansas. However, they had the number of losses that they had, 11 losses. And then I think Trey Mitchell, the 6'9" player who left in February, is key. And your analysis on how we match up, I think they're going to have a hard time stopping our big guys, Kevy, Aluma. And then I think they're good up front, but I just think we're a better team. What is your take on it? Because I know you've had a lot of data.
Yeah, they got 3 guys that average in double figures. And again, they're only like 6'8" or 6'9". So I think when you look at how skilled Kevy and Aluma isn't Justin Mutz, the way they pass the ball.
Mm-hmm.
When Coach K commented on that, he says those guys are really, really good, and they're very difficult matchups. So I think they're gonna have their hands full with those two guys. And then when you think about the guys outside, you just never know which one of them. They all have the ability to shoot it well. Think how good Storm Murphy was in that tournament when he got kind of hot. And Sean Padula had his game. And Darius Maddox leads him in points and rebounding in one of those games. And then Hunter Couture goes off. And Naheem Aleem, last year in the NCAA tournament, we played up in Indianapolis in the bubble. And he had a whale of a game, career high against Florida. So the Hokies have a lot of weapons. And if they shut down one, somebody else can go through and play really, really well. So I like the matchup. And we'll see how far they go. And again, we're trending in the right direction, winning all those games, and then they've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, they've only won 3 of the last 8.
Yep,
they're 3-5 in the last 8 games. Again, that doesn't jive with what the committee normally, I think, tries to do. So I don't know.
So do we have a unanimous panel here? Everybody's picking Virginia Tech. I'm picking them with my heart and my mind.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah, 100%. I think
Mind?
I think you guys hit the nail on the head with that one. I agree with everything there.
And you know me, I'm gonna say Virginia Tech now, and then on another episode, we're interviewing somebody from Texas tomorrow. I'm gonna say Texas. So, but for tonight, Virginia Tech tonight. Maybe we can get Shaka Smart on and say, hey, Texas got rid of you. What do you think they're gonna do?
So, Mike, I know you feel, I'll let you speak for yourself, that we should beat Texas. But I want to transition to the next round. We're going to be facing a Purdue team that a lot of people were waiting for them to rise all the way to the top. They lost in the finals of the Big Ten tournament to Iowa. They are big, dangerous team. They're facing Yale, and that's going to be a great second round of 32 game. What's your, Purdue, Matt Painter? I was looking at their roster, man, he recruits Indiana so well. What are your thoughts on Purdue in the second round? I've been listening to a lot of people and what they're predicting. What do you think about Purdue in the second round? And we're not disrespecting Texas. We all just think we're going to beat them.
Yeah, they're good. They were up there in the top 5 all year most of the time, and they've got some big dudes that can play. They'll have the size advantage and whatnot. And, they play in a rugged league. So, the Hokies have seen them before. Matt might remember down there at Charleston, right? Buzz was here. We beat those guys in the championship game in that Charleston Classic or whatever it's called. And, so, they're good, talented guys. But, in this stage, you just got to take them one at a time. Can't get ahead of yourself. And just hope they play really well and get to scout and see what happens in round 2 if you make it that far.
Matt, what do you think about Purdue? You know much about Purdue? They're pretty big.
Yeah, they're definitely very big. I know their big guy, I believe, is like the most fouled
Yep.
man in college basketball right now. But I think that, as we talked about, our bigs and our team is just we're pretty versatile. So even our bigs, like Mr. Burnop was saying earlier, like we can get out there and pass. They can get out, and Justin's very athletic, playing the 4 for us. So I think that, even though they're bigger than us, I think Duke was slightly bigger than us as well. And we did a good job with them. I think that, there's going to be some type of scheme to come up to try to slow them down. But I think overall in the ACC tournament, we did a pretty good job, like being tough and rebounding the basketball and kind of like holding most teams to 1 possessions. So I think if we kind of continue down that stretch, that we'll be all right. But yeah, no, that's definitely an intriguing matchup. And I think, coming off 36 hours of a scout, I think that would be a pretty good game. But I think I definitely like us there. So
Hard and mind.
You got to take care of the basketball.
Yep.
When you think about that was huge the way the Hokies were playing. They were getting points off turnovers from the other team when they forced them. It was the margin was wide against Duke and Carolina, and that was a big part of it. Forced turnovers, protected yourself.
Right.
Yeah, you get those extra possession. As good as they're shooting the ball, it just bodes really, really well for you.
Right.
Well, one thing, what it seems like everybody's doing is looking past Yale. I'm calling this. Yale will upset Purdue.
Like that.
And let me tell you, it sounds crazy, but you know what? Every year we sit down and we watch those games on that Thursday and Friday, and we're going, and you see a Yale keeping it close, and you're like, they're not even a great Ivy League team. They're just good. They won the tournament. But like these teams they stay in it, they shoot. Purdue starts getting fidgety. And next thing you know, it comes down to the wire. And I'm thinking this will be one of the upsets, okay? Yale's going to pull the upset, and then they're going to play Virginia Tech close. But I think Yale will really shock a lot of people.
All right. So having said that, put $50 on it with the odds in Vegas and you can retire. So, all right. So Mike, let's assume that we beat Purdue. And I think that's a coin flip. I'm a Hokie, but I think it's a coin flip. I think that, if we get a horse in the stable, as my high school basketball coach used to say, I was saying this on Saturday night, all night with Couture. I'm like, keep letting him shoot until he cools down. But my question to you is, next week, are you going to Pat's or Geno's for your Philly cheesesteaks?
I've been to both of those. They're both good.
Yeah.
When you go to those places, you need to go to the ones around the corner that are not.
Right.
You get better deals and better sandwiches. So we'll cross that when we get there.
So what I want to do before we let you go, Mike, because we really are grateful for your time, and we know, going up to Brooklyn and then coming home and turning right back around and going to Milwaukee, and we're all hoping we make it to Philadelphia, is that we'll be facing a really, really, really good Kentucky team who is probably, I think, the top team in the bracket, the most difficult team. How do you feel about if we play well, and Virginia Tech can definitely get to that Sweet 16 game? How do you feel about facing Kentucky and John Calipari and his players?
Well, I mean, obviously they're really good, and you're getting way ahead of yourself because every game is going to be difficult. But if it came down to that, it's, again, you got to just come up with a game plan and do the things that you do. Keep them off the glass because they're big, and shoot the ball well. I think one of the things that makes Virginia Tech special is that they got so much experience on this team. And you think about going up against Duke, Banchero was a freshman, right? He was playing high school ball last year.
That's right.
So you guys know each other so well, the Hunter Coutures, and, Storm Murphy comes in. Storm Murphy's in the top 10 in the country of how many games he's played in college, over 160. That's top 10 time.
Wow.
The experience there too. And, these other guys just kind of feed in. Mike Young had to play them early on. They were all playing as true freshmen. And now they got all that experience under their belt. Then you bring in a guy like Mutz. It's been a High Point, been to Delaware, played at a great high level here. And Aluma was down there. I mean, he's got a team that's got a lot of experience, and I don't think anything you throw at him will get him off guard.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's going to be exciting. And we'll let you go, Mike, but I want to point out a couple of things. Blacksburg to Milwaukee is 725 miles. So, and it's not a big hub. So I guess maybe some people will be, flying into Chicago and driving. So it'll be interesting to see our turnout, but there's some other good games. Wisconsin's playing there. And we were coming back from Richmond on Friday, and we wanted to listen to the North Carolina game. He puts it on satellite. I'm like, no. You got to put it on 96.1, and we got to listen to Mike Burnop. So, yep, Mike. So we're going to let you go. We really appreciate.
Before we let Mike go, though, Mike, you don't have to pick the overall winner. Do you have a Final Four?
I did, and I think it was Gonzaga and Duke, Arizona, and God, I forget who the fourth one was.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, that's kind of taking an easy way out when you go with the high seeds, but just seems like those guys are all a little better. And Gonzaga's a little better, it seems like, than everybody, but the league they play in is not. So
right.
What happens? I think it'd be great for the ACC if K could win it, man. Go out. That would be pretty cool, because I still have a hard time believing they lost that game in the second half at home. You just kept thinking, nah, this ain't happening. game somehow, and then Carolina just blew them out in the second half, just crazy. And then the Hokies get them. They're not trending in the right direction, but this is another season. You wipe the slate clean, and maybe they can get it right.
All right. Well, rest up and get the flight there. Hokie Nation's excited. Feel really good about the first couple. Kentucky and Philadelphia, like you said, that's getting ahead of us. But as Dabo Sweeney, my fraternity brother, says, if you're going to dream, you got to dream big. So, Mike, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Matt, we're going to have some fun now. We're going to come up with a Final Four, go through the reasons. So, Mike Burnop, thanks again for coming on our show. All right?
You got it. You got it anytime.
All right. Appreciate it, Mike.
Okay, Rusty. See you now. See you, Matt. Tell your friends. Hello.
I will.
All right. You the man.
All right. God bless, Mike. Go Hokies.
You got it, bro. Go Hokies.
All right. All right. So, Matt, you came off the golf course 757. How'd you hit them?
It was a day today. That was my first time playing the course. I didn't realize how much I think there's water on every hole. So it was it was slightly windy too. So, but I mean, it wasn't a bad day. That was only my second time playing this year. So, it was just getting the kinks out.
Yep. That's good. I was telling you about that final par 3. You can't see it. You hit it up on the shelf.
By the time we got to it, it was like almost 8 o'clock. It was pitch black. So if you were green, you weren't finding it.
So, let's transition. Going through the brackets, I forgot to say that to Mike that Seth Greenberg picked us to beat Purdue. So, and there's pretty much a consensus. But why don't we start off with the East? We've got Baylor as the number 1 seed. Kentucky is the number 2 seed. Obviously, we do not have the time. I think we're looking right now. Let's take like 7-8 minutes and go through these brackets. Rusty, why don't you start us off with, the Virginia Tech bracket, the East. We're starting off with Milwaukee, but we've got Baylor 1 and Kentucky 2. What are your thoughts?
I've got Baylor advancing, beating Carolina and beating UCLA to advance to the Final Four. I do see I'm pretty much kind of going chalk right now. I don't know enough about what Murray State can do or St. Mary's, but I really feel that Yale can beat Purdue, but that'll be their one victory, and then I think Baylor's going to come out of that region.
Okay, what are your thoughts, Matt? I will point before I let you go. Murray State and South Dakota State were the only 2 teams in the country to go undefeated in their conference. And I have them beating San Francisco. So, and I've got St. Mary's also facing UCLA. Matt, who do you like in this bracket?
So it's fun. I was just about to mention that comment about Murray State. And no matter what conference you play in, it's hard to do that. And I think Murray State is very experienced. Now they do rely heavily on like 1 or 2 scores. But I do think, honestly, on a little bracket that I drew, like I think the battle of Kentucky, them versus Kentucky, I think they have the experience. I know Kentucky's a little bit older than they typically are, but I think they have the ability to frustrate Kentucky. Their coach is probably going to be a Power 5 conference coach at the end of the season. But it's in my opinion, I've done this in the past. It's easy to just look at their favorite, and it always this time of the year ends up being some crazy upsets. So, but yeah, I do kind of like what you guys are saying. I think they're a big matchup. It's gonna be Baylor, UCLA. I think St. Mary's is tough, but I do like UCLA to kind of get back. I think that they even have the potential with another year of experience to beat Baylor and to get into the Final Four. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So I got Kentucky over Baylor, and I've got Baylor, UCLA. I'm sorry, I have Purdue. Y'all can beat up on me. So that's my Sweet 16. That's my Elite 8, and I've got Kentucky going. So, all right, what do you think, Matt? You gonna go with Baylor or Kentucky?
I'm going to go with Baylor.
Okay, you're going Baylor. All right, Rusty.
All right, I've got Baylor.
Okay. Well, Scott Drew's coming off. He's got a really good team. So, so the West, got the overall number 1 seed. A lot of people feel this is the easiest bracket. And so we got Gonzaga at 1, Duke at 2. I think Mike said Gonzaga and Duke, so that can't happen. Going through this, there are some very interesting matchups. Go ahead.
I would say let Matt start out with this.
Yeah, Matt. This great matchups here.
Yeah. So obviously, I think Gonzaga, like Mike was saying earlier, is obviously the overall number 1. I think this year is kind of similar to like last year and very not like years prior, where there's not like 1, 2, 3 dominant teams where you feel extremely comfortable with them, potentially winning. But I do like Gonzaga here. So I think Davidson, in my opinion, upsets Michigan State. And then the one thing
I call that too.
Yeah, and the one problem I see, I think they could possibly even beat Duke.
Yep.
So they have the A-10 Player of the Year, I believe. Bob McKillop's a fantastic coach. But the one thing that I noticed during the ACC tournament is I think they threw out a stat is an absurd amount of minutes were played by Duke's 5 or 6 players. Yep. And so I think the lack of depth could potentially hurt them on going on a run in the tournament, whether it's injury or just foul trouble. So I think there's a little bit of a red flag for me there with Duke. But I know a lot of people are picking Vermont to upset Arkansas. I'm not too sure about either team there, but I do eventually like Gonzaga coming out of that bracket.
Who do you like them playing in the Elite Eight, Matt?
Since I don't have Duke going too far, I'm going to say Texas Tech.
That's what I have.
I just think Texas Tech is, I think they're elite. They've proven themselves throughout this year.
All right, Rusty Hudson.
Yeah, I'm jiving right with Matt. First, I've got Davidson beating Michigan State, and I believe that Davidson or Michigan State, whoever advances, will beat Duke. Unfortunately, I just don't. I want, as much as I'm a Duke hater, I love Coach K. And it would be nice to see him win another championship, like Mike was saying, but I just don't know if they'll be able to do it. So I do have the Davidson. Being an A-10 fan, I thought we, just getting 2 teams in, I wasn't too happy about that. But I think I've seen Davidson a number of times this year, and they can just play. And like you said, I think they can beat Michigan State. I think they could beat Duke. But that being said, I think this is Gonzaga's. They've got, to me, the easiest route to the Final Four. I don't think they'd have any problems, with Memphis. And I think they could I have them beating Arkansas to get to Texas Tech and then beating them.
Woo! Okay. But I like your pick. The one thing I will point out is this has got great first round. I like Rutgers over Notre Dame. They got Ron Harper Jr. can score. And then you look at UConn, Mexico State. UConn's got great defense. I love Danny Hurley as a coach. It's so funny, out of the 2 Hurley brothers, he's become the better coach. So Memphis and Boise, Boise, that's almost like a home game up in Portland. That's not far. And then Gonzaga, that's very close. So I've got Gonzaga, UConn. I've got Texas Tech. So I think Rutgers will beat Alabama, and I think Texas Tech will beat Rutgers. I think Arkansas, Vermont could upset them. So, and then I've got Texas Tech beating Duke. I heard Jay Billis talk about Duke today. They're just not right. So, and obviously Gonzaga, coming out of that. So let's flip over to the South. Before we do that, Matt, why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to since you got out of Virginia Tech? You got out in 2015, right?
17.
17. I'm sorry.
I left school in 17. And then I actually coached for a year at a now Division II school, Emory and Henry in Southern Virginia.
Mike Young's.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that was actually the first time I met him. So he's big at Emory and Henry, and when he was at Wofford, we actually went down to Wofford, me, the assistant head coach, and saw practice. and then he met with us for like an hour or two after. So that was the first time I kind of, you know, met Mike Young, and you know, very genuine guy. He's an awesome guy, great coach.
Yep.
And then so after that season, we won the ODAC, made the NCAA tournament, and I just kind of realized like there's, and this is gonna sound weird, like more to life than basketball. Obviously, I love basketball, but it was kind of like just my time to get out. So I moved back home, moved back to Northern Virginia. I worked at a high school for a year, and then since then I've been working for BAE Systems. So still local, still around the area. So yeah.
Yeah. Are you out here in Loudon?
Yeah, I live in Ashburn currently.
Oh,
You playing in any leagues?
Yeah, so I mean, as soon as I got done and got back up here, I was playing all the time. I was playing 3 or 4 leagues at a time.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit. It got a little bit harder to just find runs.
Yeah.
So I wasn't playing as much. And then now, like, I turned 28 in July. It's gotten to the point where I choose my runs, because like to me, it's like regardless, win, lose, hurt, not hurt, I still have to go to work tomorrow. So like,
right.
I'm not trying to like go out there and like, you know, bust a knee or something. So
right.
a lot of my other athletic friends have become you know, not so athletic. So yeah, we have all together taken up golf. So I golf a bunch now. That's kind of like my competitiveness.
Right.
Nice way to just get outside on the weekend after the work week. So yeah, I do try to play. I just like, I'm not gonna go to a random court and play pickup. I kind of gotta know the people, make sure I'm not getting hurt.
I know, man. Hey, but look, man, you're talking to two guys that are in their 50s, but I played flag football until my mid 40s and played basketball until my late 40s. The key is, as you get a little older, Jack, find like a 30. You got 2 years, play like in a 30 and over league. But when you're 30 and they're like 39, or when you be the young guy, like I was recruited like crazy at 49 to play in 50 and over softball leagues because I'm a young dude. The 65-year-old guys, you know, I can take them.
Yep.
So that's the key, man.
Where do you run? Where do you play, Matt?
Well, since like, you know, I'm still pretty local. Coach Hawes at Potomac Falls will have like his sons are in college now, so
yep,
some of the college guys, some of his teammates to get up there. And so, like, I typically join in there. And like you said, I'll play in an occasional league or two just with some buddies. But yeah, I mean, for the time being, that's about it. I was playing, like, when I first got back, I was playing almost every day. I was playing in the Goodman League out in D.C. and kind of getting, like, runs all the time. But
yeah,
kind of taking a step back from all that. So
yeah. So hook me up with Halls, man. Y'all need a senior citizen out there. We talked. I actually saw him last week. I mean, LA Fitness has really good runs every Saturday morning. Okay. And then Ida Lee is real good. Okay. Good level. Nobody's too low. Nobody's too high. But yeah, it's good to see you're doing well. I met you at Stonebridge and was, you know, really impressed with you. But all right, so let's transition over to a very exciting bracket, and that's the South. We got Arizona as the 1 seed in Villanova. I want to get y'all's thoughts on that's got some. Again, this is a really good tournament. What are your thoughts? Let's let you go, Matt, as our guest. You know, with that bracket.
Yeah. So this one is a little more. You know, there definitely are some tough games. I think it's a little more clear cut where the favorites might kind of hold this one down. I do like Loyola Chicago over Ohio State.
I do too. Good call.
Yeah, I think they're, you know, historically, especially the past couple of years, have been a very solid team in the tournament.
Right.
I honestly, in my opinion, it bothers me that Michigan is ranked the same as Virginia Tech. I think Michigan kind of slid into the tournament. So
no doubt.
Yeah, I don't see them going very far, but I think it's going to be holding down the Sweet 16. You know, probably Arizona, Houston, Tennessee, and Villanova. I do like Tennessee. Kind of take this one. I think they're hot at the right time. Arizona, I haven't watched a ton of. I know the Pac-12 isn't as competitive as what we usually think, but I think that Elite Eight matchup would be pretty good. Arizona has been ranked very high basically the entire year, so we'll see what happens. Tennessee is balling right now, though, so we'll see.
Yeah, Rusty, what do you think?
Well, a lot of people are saying Arizona should have been the number one overall, and really impressed with how they play. And I agree, but I've got them taking the L to Villanova. I thought the Big East was really a strong conference this year, and just Villanova, they just ball, man. They have veteran players. They play that style of basketball that just can, they're tough. And the kids there, they've got that Northeast corridor. They got DC metro area kids. Justin Moore is from DeMatha right here. I work with his mom, and I've seen that young man since he was, in the third grade. And just like each year, as their younger guys become juniors and seniors, they just blossom. And so I've got Villanova in the Final Four.
Yep. Yeah, Villanova has been recruiting this area. I remember they signed Aaron Bain. I think that was 88, 89 at a Flint Hill. But this does have some really cool matchups. So I've got Arizona winning this. But Seton Hall, TCU, I like Seton Hall. And Matt, I'm going to go against you. UAB with Jelly Walker, they're hot. Illinois kind of limping. They're going to beat Chattanooga. I've got Illinois and Arizona going to the Sweet 16. And then I do have Michigan State beating Colorado State simply because of talent. But I like Tennessee going to the Sweet 16. I've got Loyola Chicago, Villanova. I just decided, literally just decided that I'm going to pick Villanova over Tennessee for toughness. And I like Arizona to win this one. And I got a little teaser here to where we're going to the end. So, all right.
Let me say one thing, though. Don't sleep on Houston. Do not sleep on Houston, man.
They were good last year.
Yeah. Yep. I've got Arizona beating them, but I would not be surprised if they're able to beat Arizona.
Yeah, Matt, if basketball history, man, Houston, when they had Guy Lewis and Clyde the Glide and Hakeem and who are Reed Geddes, and Houston high school hoops is really good. Larry Johnson, all the players from there. I like Arizona coming out of there. So let's switch over to our last bracket, which is the Midwest. And we're at about 40 minutes right now. So if you're interested in the Midwest. So Matt, let's go to you. We've got, a blue blood in Kansas, and we've got Auburn at the number 2 seed. This is very interesting. The bottom of that bracket and the top, hot teams. You got some hot teams and some interesting locations. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with your take on this one. I think Kansas is dominant. I do think there is potential upsets in this. Will Wade at LSU got fired the other day, so I think it's hard enough playing a tournament, playing with a interim coach. I kind of like Iowa State there. In my opinion, I think Auburn's one of the best teams. They have 2 7-footers. Their guards shoot the ball pretty well. I think it just it comes down to how their guards play. I think South Dakota State, like we mentioned earlier, Murray State, no matter what conference you play in, it's hard to stay undefeated. And
right.
I believe I saw a stat where they're the best shooting team in the country from 3-point. So, and just like Baylor last year, that was kind of how they took it all the way. So I kind of like South Dakota State coming out of there to play Kansas. I like Kansas beating them, and I think Auburn, Kansas is going to be a dogfight. So I want to lean Auburn. I know Kansas is pretty good, but I don't know. I'm just leaning Auburn's way though. So
all right, let's go, Rusty.
Yeah, so I end up with Kansas, Auburn, with Kansas advancing to the Final Four. But along the way, I see where I picked Iowa, but I would not be surprised if Richmond gets the win. Richmond is a very experienced team. They've got a lot of not just 4, but they got 4, 5, and 6-year vets, with the COVID year.
Super seniors.
Yeah, super seniors. You got grad students that have transferred in. And so, they won the Atlantic 10. They kind of snuck up in that they didn't have a bad record, but they lost twice to VCU during the regular season. They beat us in the quarterfinals. And then they won and did what they had to do to get in the tournament. I think a team like that, it can definitely play within Iowa and beat them. But I think ultimately after that, whoever it is, whether it's Iowa or Richmond, I think Providence will win that. And I just see Kansas, Providence, I basically see 1, 2, 3, 4. So I also have Wisconsin, Auburn, and Kansas taking out Auburn to advance to the Final Four.
All right. Okay. Great. Good picks. I think Iowa's hot. They beat Purdue. So I like Kansas and Iowa. I don't see Richmond beating, but that's a great call. I mean, they're very experienced. LSU, no coach.
Oh, but let me just say this. I was going to, when Matt brought that up, let me just say this as a VCU alum, Will Wade's a jerk, okay? And I'm telling you, man, and especially if you know a lot of things that happened with the FBI investigation, and the coach that's replacing him is the old Hampton Nick. Oh gosh, why I'm forgetting his name, but he was the Hampton University and Howard coach, and a lot of kids love playing for him.
Nichols,
Coach Nichols. Yeah. Yep. And I'm telling you, that dude can coach. And I know, Matt, you're saying, hey, this new coach, but I know of a Michigan team that got a coach, and they went all the way and won a championship, back in the late 80s. So I would not be surprised if there's some rejuvenation because, they to play for Nichols and at least get by Iowa State.
Yeah.
Because the talent is there. Believe me, they paid good money for it. This
is a home game for Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And Madison is not that far, and the Wisconsin's crazy about Wisconsin. That's a state like no other. I like Wisconsin to beat Iowa State only because of the home game. But if Colgate were playing them somewhere else, that might be a stinger. I like Kansas over Iowa, and then Matt, like you said, I like Auburn. And this is almost like a coin flip. I'm going to take Kansas, Bill Self, big talented team. So, all right, my Final Four is Gonzaga, Kentucky, Arizona, Kansas. Matt, I know you had the Zags.
Yeah.
Did you pick Baylor?
Yeah, Baylor, Auburn, and Tennessee.
Okay, so you've got so Auburn and Tennessee. Rusty, you got the Zags.
3 number 1s in Villanova in the Final Four. So I got Gonzaga, Baylor, Kansas, and Villanova. And I have Villanova beating Kansas to get to the final game against Gonzaga.
All right, Matt, who you like to go to the finals?
I think Auburn gets revenge. And
Woo!
Auburn.
You think Auburn win it all?
No. I think Auburn gets revenge against Tennessee, and then they lose to Gonzaga in the finals.
Okay. All right. There's a bet for that. Auburn in the finals might set you up real well, man. You might be able to join congressional. All right. So I like Gonzaga in Arizona. And I'll say this, if Kirk Kriisa is healthy, I like Arizona. If he continues to struggle, I like Gonzaga. So
okay.
I've
got Villanova winning over Gonzaga by 3.
That's another one. That's another one that you can put some money on. And now it's basically legal.
It is legal.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So
DraftKings, we're looking for some sponsors. We gave Dan Levitar $50 million.
You need a sponsorship now.
Yeah. Let me just close. let me just say one thing. I'm biased. A10, ACC. I'm really looking at how the ACC was disrespecting in some of the seedings. I would not be surprised if Miami makes a decent run and can definitely beat USC, but would not be surprised if they upset Auburn. You make them a 10 seed like they're, coming out of the Sun Belt, and then you've got, of course, Tech is an 11. And then they go too far with Duke being a 2. Carolina's probably slotted about right at 8. But and then what's our other school? It is
Notre Dame.
What's the other ACC?
Duke
team?
and Notre Dame. Duke.
Notre Dame. Yeah, and Notre Dame, like they're in the playing game.
They're going down to Rutgers.
And I believe
Rutgers is going to beat them.
ACC to finish the year.
Yeah. So, Virginia Tech is hot, and it's not just because I went there. They are a really hot team. We saw what NC State did in '83. That was unbelievable. They had to win the ACC tournament. What were they, 17-11, Rusty? I think they were 17-11. Everything was a buzzer beater. And it just seems like they get a different guy hot, like these kids that are getting hot. And let's put it all together. I'm picking Kentucky for the, to go to the Elite 8, but you never know. All right. So, Matt, thanks for taking the time. I think you just took about 47, 48 minutes, something like that out of your life. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Love to have you back on. And I have this thing when I play hoops now. Frozen peas are the cheapest ice bags you can get in a big old thing of saran wrap. I don't use that fancy, man. And you got to stretch forever, and you put those things on, and I keep them on forever.
Oh, let me tell you something, Matt. Matt, you are still too young, bro. At 28, I still could
at 28, man, I can run up and down and
I
jump.
can shoot the rock. Well, I never could shoot, but I'm left-handed. I can take anybody off the dribble going left-handed. And I played flag football pretty well at 28 years old. All right.
I like it.
I hadn't seen a post player in Loudoun County that I could not take at 28. I don't care if they're 6'7". Then we didn't really have any 6'7" kids, but now those Highland Springs Hayfield kids are a little bit different. They were ball players, but yeah. So it's been fun, Matt. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Share this with your friends, family. We invite people to check us out again on the Kirk and Byrd BYRD at YouTube, as well as follow us, Big Student Athletes, is Twitter at the Kirk and Byrd, no show, and then Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and Google for the podcast. So we're going to close out, and there's a game going on tonight. Second favorite event of the year. Matt, my first is coming up, the Masters.
That was going to be my guess. So.
Yeah, and I'm a storyteller. Here's my story. I flew to after it was obviously a Tuesday after the national championship, and I don't know what how Atlanta has those boom, 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 and I'm connecting, and I don't remember where I was going, but when you go south, you fly through Atlanta a lot, and I'm sitting at. They might have phone booths back then. Scott Van Pelt walks up, right? He was in my fraternity at Maryland, and I just started talking to him. He's really cool. And I just said, how in the world did you get this job? He's like, luck, man. He goes, I was living with my parents, just working, and I got an internship at the Golf Channel. And then I get finished talking to him, and Jim Nance walks by, and he's on his way to the Masters. And I talked to Jim Nance, and I found it hard to believe he was flying. Commercial, by the way. But that was the coolest thing, man. You go, you go Final Four NCAA tournament right into the Masters. Matt, maybe we'll have you on for a Masters preview.
Sounds good. As long as I don't have to show you how I play, then I'm definitely.
Hey, Matt, I'll challenge you to some putt-putt, a miniature golf. That's
all
about
right.
it.
Just let me know. I'm down whenever. So.
Hey,
we'll hit a track.
I'm gonna tell Matt, just like I did Allen Iverson. He went to my high school. We were playing basketball one time. He was still in high school. If you're playing with me because I'm older than you, I'm running the point. Okay, I'm running the point.
That's good. That's cool.
Tell Coach Halls with all that shoe money he's got, he needs to take us out to Raspberry Falls. I love that place.
I got you.
All right, man.
Man,
Hey,
but I will feed you, bro. I'll feed you all night. All right.
That's all I need.
All right, dog.
All
hey,
right,
son,
man.
it's been a lot of fun. All right.
Appreciate y'all.
And I think
God
I
bless,
left
Matt.
some of the
Appreciate
games
you.
in high school. I probably hooked you up a few times, man.
Yeah, he probably rested.
All right, dog.
Man, take it easy.
Kirk and Byrd, we're out.
Out.